Hi guys, I'm Shmi, hello and welcome back to the channel where you join me on a beautiful afternoon here in the Florida Keys beside the Atlantic Ocean, heading south from Miami with the Shelby GT500 to go all the way to Key West, the most southerly point that you can drive to from the mainland of the USA. This is a bit of a bucket list journey that I've been wanting to do with this car since I took delivery a little over a year ago, a couple of hours ahead of us then to drive across the bridges over the islands to get to the most southerly point. But while we make our way on that journey, I want to talk a little bit more about something I know many of you are wondering. When is this car eventually going to go to the UK, to go to the Museum? But also something some people talk about, which is whether it is actually illegal to take the GT500 to the UK in the first place. Now, as you might know, Ford and Shelby don't actually sell the GT500 over in Europe at all. There are a few reasons for that, but as a private individual, it's possible to import it if you do a few specific things, which I'm going to point out today and tell you exactly what I'll need to do with this car to get it back home. But before we do, we've got a lovely, lovely afternoon to enjoy, to make our way down to Key West. Hopefully we get there before sunset. Either way, driving the GT500 is always fabulous. At this point, the GT500 is just shy of 9,000 miles. I have basically finished my second set of rear tyres. No surprise there when you have 760 horsepower all going through the rear axle of the car. We had the cross-country adventure from Miami over to Los Angeles. We've had a few outings here in Florida. I took it up the other day to go catch up with Freddie Tavares. We had some races with this against his Hellcat Red Eye. But today we're adding a few hundred more, going down to Key West. We're just shy of 9,000 on the clock at the moment. It will be about 9,100, 9,200 by the time we get back up to Miami afterwards. But for now, it's a car that I've enjoyed so much for this kind of driving. It's a car that stands out so much. Even being parked here beside the ocean, as I said, quite a few people have come up to talk a little bit about it. In this particular color scheme, the grabber lime with the stripes, it's just very, very in your face, very American, a proper American muscle car. I could not have chosen, in my eyes, a better car to use in the way that I have used this. But one of the things, as I said, that so many people touch on is about taking it back home. Now, Ford can't sell the GT500 in Europe at all because it's not been homologated. Various reasons, bodywork, engine, and plenty more. They never took it through that homologation process, probably because they didn't expect it would be able to pass it. And that means from the main dealer point of view, they can't actually sell them new. So that's why you can't buy one of these in Europe. But that doesn't strictly apply if you're a private individual importing a car that you've either bought or you've owned in another country, as I have, for example, with this in the USA. There are a few things, as I said, that I'll need to change, and we'll touch on those in a moment along the way. But for now, I think before time goes by too quickly, let's hop in, get this started, get the journey underway. As I said, we're already about halfway down to the Keys at the moment. I'll just step inside here. It always sounds oh so good. You can actually turn it on and then pop it into your choice of driving mode. There are always a few pop-ups that you get, driver door ajar. So you can then pop it into your choice of driving mode. My mode is set up how I like it. Then hit the start button, and it sounds like a monster. We just don't get cars straight from the factory that sound that good in Europe anymore. But this can go as it is, and that's why I'm so much looking forward to it. So with some AC blasting, so it's about 29 degrees Celsius, let's get ready, let's get on the road, let's head down towards Key West. Let's get on the move then. This car, it's a car that ticks a lot of boxes, whether we've had track day outings with it or whether we've had exceptionally long cruises on highways, on cruise control, not doing anything very exciting. It's done pretty much anything I could have asked for it, and that's what I really enjoy about this kind of car. It's fun, it's rare, it's exciting, it's loud, it's just emotional to drive, but it's also quite practical. You know, we've got a boot absolutely, or a trunk I should say, absolutely wedged full of cases at the moment, as much as you could possibly fit inside there. Obviously all of our luggage for this trip, but at the moment it's basically just a gentle drive with this spectacular scenery all around us. The boat's out on the ocean, glistening on a warm afternoon at this time of year. Certainly not like this back at home, so I'm not complaining about that in the slightest. Now, as I said, I did go to Key West as a youngster, as a kid, I think about 21 years ago, something like that. But since picking up the car, I wanted to go down. It's a little bit too far to go for a day trip. To go from Miami, it's something like 3.5 hours each way, plus some fuel stops, plus some compulsory photo stops along the way. But I think when we do eventually get there, you know, it'll be worth the outing, it'll be worth the journey down. Just quite a cruise, and doing this as a cruise means, by the way, we currently have driven 183 miles since last filling up, and we've got 79 miles to empty, which means a theoretical range of just over 260, which is on for about the best this car has done. That's been one of the big frustrations on the road trip is that the fuel tank combined with the efficiency do not make for a very good range. Not the most economical, not the biggest fuel tank. But like I say, it's about, what, an hour and a half from here. We've got Android Auto, so this is up and running on the screen from here down to our destination, 71 miles to go. Probably going to need to fill up before we get there. Going to be cutting it a little bit fine based on those numbers. But having never been with a car, this is part of the fun, right? To make the most of having the car here. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't immediately send it home at the end of last year, because I so much enjoy having a car as soon as we touch down. And I've got a lot going on in Miami as well, away from the Schmiel 50 channel, business things and the like in the background. So it means I'm here quite often, and just hopping off the plane and having this car ready to go, how cool is that? GT500 at the ready every time. So eventually it will go back home. Just until then, for days out like this, yes please, it's absolutely perfect to have it at the ready. We'll find somewhere to pull over shortly, and I'll explain a little bit more about exactly what we're going to need to change to get it into the UK. I've decided to actually just pull in and get this filled up. Now, filling up is an interesting one because I touched on this. There are no available pumps. That's typical. I touched on this recently with this car, and a few of you guys pointed out that there is actually a technique for getting UK cards to work. With our postcodes instead of zip codes, you just enter the numbers from it. So if you were like W1 1AB for London, you just enter the 1, and then fill up the rest with zeros, and it works. So you can use a UK card at these pumps after all, which I didn't know, which is amazing. What I don't know right now is if I'm going to wait, that's us out of order anyway, or if I think we're just gonna give up and get back on the road, because otherwise we're just wasting time, and we can always find the next one. I think that's probably the best plan at the moment. They are both actively filling. Off we go again. This is actually pretty cool. Have a look at the view here. There's the footbridge that runs alongside the driving bridge, but basically for, I believe, over 100 years, these islands have been connected to the mainland, and a few pretty famous people have lived down in the Keys as well. Famous writer Ernest Hemingway, US President Truman lived down here as well for times, and lots of other presidents come and visit, even though it's a pretty tiny place. Population, from what I've read, is about 26,000 people. But as a tourist destination, obviously it stands out. It's closer to Havana, Cuba, when you're in Key West, than it is to Miami, Florida, which actually takes a little bit of thinking about. It's only 90-something miles down to Havana, whereas back behind us it's more like 130 miles back to Miami. Kind of crazy, hey? Look at that, look at the bridge, the way it humps up. Obviously, many films and movies have been made down here. But yeah, just cruising into the ocean. That's what it feels like, surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean on all fronts. And we're just making our way down towards the very end of the highway. The scenery around here is really quite incredible. We're at a pull-off at the moment with a boat ramp, lots of people fishing, there are pelicans just about everywhere. But let's talk about the things with the GT500 which stop it from being homologated in Europe, and the things that I'm going to have to get changed in order to get it registered. Now, the first thing we need to talk about is the engine. This car, as I've talked about a few times, is basically one amazing engine and gearbox configuration wedged into the Ford Mustang. It looks the part, it drives the part, the engine and gearbox is what really makes this. Now, to open it, pull a lever inside, press down the racing latches, lift it up, there's a catch just under here, swing it up, and there we've got our 5.2 litre supercharged V8, the massive 2.3 litre Eaton supercharger on the top, making 760 horsepower with the 7-speed dual clutch gearbox. It sounds amazing, it feels amazing when you drive with it, it shifts brilliantly. It's very similar to like a Porsche PDK system in terms of how sharp it is, how quickly it shifts, and it's just a wonderful configuration. But that wouldn't pass European regulations to be a full production homologated vehicle. That certainly is not possible in Europe. So that's the first thing. It doesn't matter though for an import, because that was registered legally here in the USA. Now, the second thing that connects onto that, directly connects onto that, is the exhaust. I love the sound of this car, but it's very, very, very loud. Loud to the extent there is no way it would pass through European regulations without some significant muffling. And significant, not just like a little bit, but massively. I don't know how my GT8 is registered as an official car 5 years ago. This is even louder, certainly would not happen now. That's the big thing. I don't even think it could have happened 5 years ago. I don't really know. Now, there are a few other details, things that I do have to work on. One of those is to do with the headlights and the tail lights. Now, on this car, being an American spec car, the tail lights have red blinkers for the indicators as opposed to the amber that we need in Europe. Headlights are of course the wrong way around for the UK, but we can get some UK ones from the regular Mustang. Tail lights have to be changed from the red blinking pattern that you get through to the amber pattern that a UK car would have. That's not too expensive, not too complicated in the slightest. Bodywork is a slightly more, I suppose, touchy subject. In terms of homologation, I don't think you can have a splitter with an edge this sharp. In fact, you certainly can't. This would have to have a much smoother curve to the front ramp. And I don't think you can have these splitter wickers around the side, slightly protruding from the bodywork like this either. I think those would have to be completely removed and this would have to be designed differently. To import it, it's okay, but for homologation purposes, that wouldn't be possible, nor would this. You couldn't have this little fin sticking out here. That would have to be tucked in, perhaps seamlessly into one part of bodywork just there. So fine for importing the car, wouldn't be fine as it is. Equally, it would need new mirrors. It would need the larger European style mirrors with different lenses, different glass as well, which changes what you can see in them. Easy fix if you need to do it, but you don't for an imported car. It's obviously miles, the UK is miles, so no issues there. Miles per hour on the dashboard, that's all fine. One thing I am going to get changed, which is by choice, is that when I've got it to the UK, I'm going to take off the carbon wheels. Now, I love the look with the carbon fiber wheels, but should anything happen to them, they are painfully expensive and I just don't want to take the risk. I'm going to put a car like this back onto a regular set of wheels, so that's something to look at down the line. Before it goes anywhere, it will need a new set of rear tyres. Gonna have to get that sorted 100%, so that's definitely on the radar down the line. But that's the long and short story of it. It's not illegal to bring it into Europe. It would be illegal for Ford to directly sell the car to you as it is. They'd have to change the lights, they'd have to change some of the bodywork, they'd have to change the engine, they'd have to change the noise. I guess all of that added up to be too complicated given the effective price tag that it would result in. Now, of course, in addition to that, when I do ship it or fly it or however I get it back over when the time comes, the connected thing you have to work out is obviously the import process, like I did with my SLS Black Series with my car import, but also you have the taxes, duties, which are on the car value plus on the shipping costs as well. So there's quite a big expense to do so. Cars like this, thankfully, are a lot cheaper here than they are in the UK to begin with, but when you add the taxes back on, I suppose it adds a fair chunk to it. So that's something I need to be aware of as well. Anyway, it's a little bit windy here. Let's hop back in the car, continue the journey, but that's a quick overview, I guess, of everything that needs to be done to the car or why it can't be sold here, but what stops it, or rather makes it legal to bring it into Europe myself. Well, this time we're hopefully going to be able to successfully get this car filled up. I presume we have 93 down here. Yes, we do. Perfect. All right, let me go and give this a go. We've done 225.8 miles on this tank with, what do we have, 48 still to go, so plenty. Let's go get this done. A little bit random, but there's a blimp up in the air over there. We were just wondering what it was, but problem solved. There is a random blimp. Obviously, we now have a full tank of fuel, but this has been a super chill drive, if ever there was one. And the now theoretical range is 281 miles. I take great pleasure in that. 8,800 and about 80 miles as well, with 21 miles to go, so we'll just go over 8,900. This car's done that so well, and the funny thing about that actually is I've only been in the USA with this car in the same place as it for probably, I'm going to say, about 10 weeks. So that's quite a lot of mileage and not a lot of time. Obviously, across the whole country was a big part of that. You certainly build up miles fast when you're here in the US versus Europe, just because everything's so spread out wherever you're going, whether it's from Miami up to Orlando or down to Key West. Yeah, I think this round trip is the best part of 400 miles. But yeah, sun is going down in front of us, but I think we'll get there before sunset and hopefully have a lovely view from the very south of the country. I think as we cross this bridge now, the last bridge, we will be arriving in Key West. Looking at the navigation at least, that's what it looks like. So we pop over here. Yeah, in fact, I can see the sign on the right-hand side where all the traffic is. Key West, south or south? I think we probably need south. Left lane or right lane. But yeah, we're on the final island of the chain. Now, the race against the setting sun to make it to the very end of this journey. I definitely need to be in that lane. Sorry, thank you everyone around. To go see and take this car to the most southerly point of the country. Now, according to maps, this corner is the southernmost point of Key West, and I guess that is why you have this kind of buoy sitting there that tells you 90 miles to Cuba, and a whole lot of people taking photos with it, which is kind of fun. This is a pretty tight corner. I wonder if we can park around here somewhere, but yeah, probably up here. Basically, we made it. That is kind of it. We're here. Yes, you can park in these bays. That's very convenient. We'll just park up for a second then. Cool. An observation about Key West. There are loads of chickens running around, and this guy was just checking out the car, and I'm hoping he's not going to peck it, because otherwise he might have to become dinner. That wouldn't be good. Don't touch my car. Leave it alone. He's like, it's a standoff. Like, bright green? What is this? Well, the car is parked over that way. Obviously lots of seaplanes, which are always quite fun to see. Flying over, the view from up there must be pretty cool, but this is it. This is the Atlantic Ocean. You can technically be slightly more south through here, but notice the sign. US government property, no trespassing. It's, I think, some Navy and some privately owned things. So you can't go that way, but from here, we're as far south as you can go. And we made it before sunset, and it's a beautiful evening. The mission was successful. Can't really complain. What a place to be. Why did the chicken cross the road? Because the other chicken was chasing it. That's what happened. Oh, they're jumping on the car. Yep. I guess rather on that car than on mine. But now we know why the chicken crossed the road. Watch this chicken. There's a car coming. It's blissfully unaware. That's kind of amusing. There we go. We have meaning to the joke. Finally, the chicken crossed the road. I should probably watch out. He's after me. They're everywhere. This is quite funny. Oh, nice. ZL1 convertible. ZL1, I should say. Sorry, we're out here. That brings us to the end of today's drive with one outstanding question. When am I going to take the GT500 to the UK? Now, today has been another one of these memories experienced with the car, very much a permanent Schmeemobile. It's the first car I've bought in the USA. It's the first car that I've driven from coast to coast, all the way from Miami to Los Angeles. I took my Ford GT, but that was transported for quite a few of the different legs. It's the first car I've brought here to Key West, the first car I've done so many things with. So certainly a permanent car alongside the Ford GT and the Heritage RS and plenty of the other cars. But when I initially purchased it, I thought that it would stay out here just for that extended tour before eventually going home. But I decided with a few things further down the line to keep it here, as I said earlier, to have a car to use for different things when I come to Florida. I enjoyed a lot having it here in August and having it here for this trip. If we look ahead, well, when it comes to May, at the start of the month, there happens to be a Formula One race in Miami. So I'm certainly going to be out here then, and jump ahead a few weeks after that, and a certain famous supercar rally that starts up in Canada is going to be descending upon Cuba, having gone via Miami and back to Miami. So it'd be pretty cool to have the car out here for that, or at that time as well. So perhaps the logical here is to wait until after that, maybe later in June or July to send it over. I think probably by boat. It's a little bit less expensive than sending it on an aeroplane, and a little bit better overall to do it that way. To send it to the UK, that will take a month or two. So perhaps we're talking August, September, maybe that's about when we shall have this car over in the UK at long last. I keep wanting to say back in the UK, but of course it has never been there. It will be the first time that it will ever have made that journey, and then we'll go through the import process, pay the taxes and duties, get it registered, and perhaps take it around Europe, Nürburgring, that kind of thing, Autobahn, and have a lot of fun with it. And I cannot wait for that. But what a drive today. Coming here, it's a little bit colder here than up in Miami. We'll head over to our hotel, check in, before obviously there'll be a drive to get this back up to Miami, ready for the flight home very soon for some pretty exciting stuff right around the corner. There is a car in build we need to go and see and be part of, so stay tuned for that also. That's it for now though. Thank you very much for watching. As always guys, I really appreciate your support, and I hope you've enjoyed the video with the GT500, understanding a little bit more about the import process to get this car over to the UK. Thanks again, and I'll see you very soon. Cheers.